Women, do you want to learn the psychic of a man, his language of love, and a true path to a man's heart? Then tune in every Mondays to 945 KSHV TV for James Scott and the crew. Not just another talk show, ladies, but a guidebook to help you understand the man that's around your life.
Hi, welcome to James Scott and the crew. We're so excited to have you with us on today. We have another incredible show lined up for you. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. I have my co-host with me, Dr. BJ, and my life coach, Mr. Rick, who also is a co-host. But more than that, I got you, the viewing audience, those who are looking at us by via internet or wherever you may be looking at us right now. We want to thank you for watching us. But this show today is a repeat or is a follow-up because we got so many responses as the breaking point of a man. And so we wanted to follow up with that on today. I have a very special guest, Mr. Looney is going to be in here. He's going to talk about what was his breaking point in life. And it's a pretty incredible story. I talked with Troy, and you're going to hear from him a little later on. You got a success story lined up for us today, Mr. Donald King with the 40 Dot program, how exciting it is and things that have taken place in his life. And so we have a very good show lined up with us for us on today. So sit back and enjoy the show. Again, I want to welcome Dr. BJ and Mr. Rick. Dr. BJ, we had such an overwhelming response with the breaking point of a man. And I also want to say to those individuals who are looking at this, wherever you are, the heat this summer is going to be extremely hot. Please dehydrate yourself. Drink plenty of water. If you don't have to go out there, and if you know senior citizens, and look out for yourself and take care of yourself because it's extremely hot. Now, my breaking point is hot weather, all right? You want to get on my last nerve, driving in 107-degree weather, and you got the kids doing this, you got the wife nagging, you got all that. That's my breaking point right there, all right? My breaking point is when it's hot outside, leave me alone, all right? But really, we got so many responses, guys, and I think, Rick, one of the number one response we got was relationship, and then listen to this, because there's an economical crisis out there in America, people trying to bring sanity to themselves, and men, we just don't do a lot of talking. We got some serious issues we want to deal with. So, Dr. BJ, today, what can you say, to help these individuals, especially with men who are having breakdown? I mean, they're breaking down.
Good evening, James and Rick. This is really good because when you talk about the heat and you talk about the economy and all of the other elements that are involved, it's easy to have a breakdown.
Right.
One of the things is that I find in my counseling is that a lot of times it all relates back to communication.
Okay.
And, there's a saying among some groups, don't get too hungry, don't get too tired, and don't get too lonely. And when you put those elements together, you can find that you will have that breakdown, whereas perhaps you're not eating properly, you're not getting enough water, as you said earlier, perhaps you're feeling lonely.
Right.
There's just all of these things that come together on top of the economy, on top of maybe the issues that are going on in your home, on top of the issues that if you're blessed to have a job that's going on at the job, and all of these things start to close in.
Okay.
And if you don't have an outlet, if you don't have a means of talking about it, maybe going to the gym, exercising, but you have to have some way of letting off the steam. And the breaking point comes is when you don't have that means of escape.
Right.
And it starts to build and build and build. And the next thing you know, something is miscommunicated.
Right.
Something's said. Someone's feelings are hurt. Usually it's the ladies, but somebody's feelings are hurt, okay? And one thing leads to another.
Right.
And before you know it, something has been said, something that has been done that seems as if, okay, we can't get past this.
Exactly.
And that's where the blow up comes. And then you're like, okay, now we've got to go back and try to fix this.
Right, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Later on when Troy comes on here, I want to hear his story, then we want to give some solutions to it. I want to hear the breaking point, they want to get some solution to it, because, again, what men are suffering with right now is this whole communication thing in relationships, and then what we're finding out are some of these men just have no sense of direction for their lives. Some get to this point in life, you're 60 years old, now you're going out to buy a Corvette. You know, we're going through the crisis, you know, or now you have no sense of directions on what you want to do in life. And so these are some very critical issues, but we've got to deal with them, because if not, we're like a pressure cooker. You know, as soon as the temperatures start rising, bam, the steam is coming out. And what happens is, I hate for the wrong person to be the recipient of that breaking point.
And I think, James, sometimes we allow ourselves as men, it's embarrassing, or we feel less than a man for others to know that we have some issues.
Right.
Or to take that mask off of our face and allow everybody to see the real me.
Right.
For others to see that, it's to men, it's a sign of weakness.
Okay.
And we never want to appear to be weak.
You know why, Rick, and Dr. BJ can chime on this, because it's like an ostrich. An ostrich hides his head in the sand, and his gluteus maximus is exposed. Mm-hmm. So in our mind, we're thinking that we all covered up, but in reality, our butt is still exposed. We're in denial, all right? It really is. I mean, we hide it because we're in denial, so we're just, instead of talking about it, we'll bury ourselves in alcohol, we'll bury ourselves in sex, we'll bury ourselves in drugs. But at the same token, everybody around us see that we're exposed, and we're still in denial, Dr. BJ.
Exactly. One of the biggest issues with men is being vulnerable.
Yes.
That
true.
vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And part of that vulnerability comes shame.
Yes.
Part of that vulnerability says, you know, I am so open that now I can't hide, because the whole world is looking at me, and they're very uncomfortable with that. And usually it takes that point of hitting bottom before the average person or the average man will reach out. Mm-hmm. You know, because you have that macho mentality, I can handle it, and I don't really need to talk to anyone.
Right.
And you're having that dialogue within your head, and you know, it's your own stinking thinking in the first place that's gotten you where you are, and then you turn around and think that you're going to think your way out of this.
Well, that's us, because everything with us is logic. All right, we got control. We know how to work it out, and we end up breaking down, because in reality, Dr. BJ, we don't have control.
And that's when we lose it, James, when we feel that we've lost that control. That's when we get to that breaking point.
Yeah.
I've lost control. I thought I could fix it. I thought eventually through time, the marriage, it will get better.
Right.
Eventually through time, the job that I have, I'll get something better. But after a while, when it don't get any better, we get to that breaking point.
Right.
And that's when we get to that breaking point, is when we explode, or we say, or we do something that we didn't want to do.
Oh my goodness. Coming up in a few minutes, again, we're going to come back in a few seconds with continue the breaking point of a man. And later on, my guest is going to be Mr. Troy Looney. And then after that, you'll hear from Mr. Donald King. We'll be right back.
Tune in every Monday at 6:30 a.m. right here on My 45 KSHV TV for James Scott and the Crew, a show that deals with the mind, body, and soul of a man.
Hi, welcome back to James Scott and the Crew. We've been talking all morning and all afternoon, or evening, whatever time you're getting this show right now, talking about the breaking point of a man. And I brought my very special guest with me this morning to talk with us on today, Mr. Troy Looney, and he's going to talk about the breaking point of what happened in his life. And he has an incredible story. Welcome to the show, Troy. Glad to have you with us. So, Troy, tell me, I read about your whole background, everything that's happened. Tell me, what was your breaking point in life? What has happened to you to bring you to this point in your life? Tell me about your breaking point.
Well, the final breaking point was when my wife left and took the children, but there was, several steps before that we got to that level.
Okay.
Have 4 children, beautiful, wonderful children.
Okay.
Trying to provide for them, and this economy is tough.
Right.
And instead of turning where I should have turned, I turned to smoking marijuana.
Okay.
Alcohol.
Good. I mean, not good you smoke marijuana, but but I hear you. Go ahead.
But that just numbs it.
Okay.
That really hurts instead of being able to communicate like you should with your mate, that really just drives a wedge.
So the marijuana, the alcohol, these things become a stimulus in your life as a breaking point. And so what was causing you to break?
Just trying to provide for a family, and just the life, the world we live in today.
Right.
Is it's an express lane to hell.
Okay.
To be honest with you, wanting to give them a better life, couldn't figure out how, struggling, trying, problems with my family, my side of the family, problems with her side of the family.
Okay. So finances, marital problems, in-law problems.
In-law problems. We had a family member. I ain't gonna say which side.
Right.
But living with us, we was taken care of.
Okay.
Just a lot of issues that drove a wedge between me and my wife.
Okay.
Really brung me down. But the final point was when she left.
When your wife left. Tell me about the day when she left.
It was Christmas weekend.
Christmas weekend. Oh, wow.
2010.
Wow.
As we was opening gifts with the kids, I spoke and told them this would be the greatest Christmas ever. And looking back now, it was.
And she had left?
Well, she'd left the day after Christmas Day. We had the Christmas together, December 27th, she left.
Did you see it coming?
At the very end, yes, but not, I had about a 3 to 5 day notice it was coming.
So you wake up on December the 27th, wife is not at the house, is there a note left? I want you to, if you could, Troy, take me back to that day on December the 27th when you noticed your wife was gone. What happened?
I woke her up to go to work.
Okay.
She was, and I'm not trying to belittle my wife here, but to just be honest with you, she had made plans to meet her mother, to give the kids to her and to leave.
Okay.
She felt smothered and trapped.
Okay.
In that situation, in that relationship.
Okay.
I woke her up, helped her load the kids, thinking she was going to work.
Okay.
And that was the last time I'd seen them for several months. That's when I received news that divorce had been filed.
Okay, wait a minute, before you go to divorce. So that morning, you wake your wife up, she goes to work, she goes out, and 3 o'clock, what time does she normally come home?
Well, about 15, 20 minutes later, I received a phone call from her mother saying that the divorce had been filed.
Wait a minute, whoa. So December the 27th, wife leaves going out of the house.
With the 3 youngest children.
3 youngest children, and then 30 minutes later, you receive a phone call from your mother-in-law saying your wife has left you and she's filed for divorce.
Yes, sir.
What was going on through your head?
I had a million thoughts at once, all at once. I felt like the world was coming to an end. I mean, really. It was, I was feeling anger.
Okay.
I was feeling, bitterness, hurt, lost, confused, dazed. But thankfully, my mama raised me right. And even though I had wandered off,
Right.
I immediately called out to the Lord above.
Okay.
In that hurt and in that pain.
What was the transition that took place in your life on December the 27th?
I come to the realization that the high I was getting off of marijuana and beer and liquor was not worth my wife and my children. So I called out to the Lord above. And it wasn't an easy road. But His word is true. His word is true if you'll stick to it.
I can tell, wow, that this is very emotional for you. And I'm glad that you did have a spiritual power, which is God in your life. You know, my heart goes out to individuals who may not have no form of spirituality. And so, Dr. BJ, this man is broken. And you said the thing that helped you the most, Troy, was you calling out to God.
Yes. That's what got me through. I couldn't have done it without him.
I want to ask Dr. BJ, you know, December the 27th, number one, we know that during the holidays, suicide rates escalate. We know that that's a very high time for depression. And in Troy's situation, on December the 27th, you know, not only did he woke his wife up to go to work and she takes the kids, but he gets a phone call 30 minutes later from his mother-in-law saying that his wife had left him, the children left him. And how common is this? You know, what type of intervention or what happened? That's a breaking point for a man. What is one supposed to do at that point? You get a phone call from your mother-in-law telling you that your wife and children are gone.
The thing about that is that when I think about that, it's much like receiving a phone call that someone very close to you died.
Oh, wow, Dr. BJ, that's it.
And in that, they've died and they weren't sick. They've died and there was no indication.
Is that how you felt, Troy?
Yes. It was on that level of intensity.
You know, you have this pain in your stomach, your heart is hurting, your mind is confused, and you really don't know what to do, even before you feel the anger, because you begin to process it, and once you start to process it, then the other feelings begin to come in. But at that moment, it's the hurt, it's the shock, it's the disbelief. And you get to take it in, start to process it, and that's when you really need to reach out. That's when you really need to look at, I have to talk to someone.
Okay.
And before you get to that point of feeling that anger of retaliation, because at first you don't want to retaliate, you just want them to come back.
Okay.
You want that pain to go away.
Right.
As unrealistic as it might seem to others in that moment, you just want it all to go away, and you want it all to be as it was when it was, in fact, fine.
Okay.
But I think, Dr. BJ, that the women that leave actually want it to be that way also, but I think that they get to a point, and I've talked to several women, that did it happen, how long had she tried to express herself before it actually happened? Or did she try to talk to you in many different ways, at times?
Yes, she did, looking back now. But when you was smoking as much as I was and drinking heavily, you don't think clear.
Do you
You're
block that
fogged
out?
Okay.
And we both felt smothered and like we couldn't breathe, like both of us was dying. You know, the ironic thing is in November, I'm a big sportsman. I love to hunt and fish. And in November, I went to hunting camp and had cried out to the Lord, I want a change in my life. I couldn't keep doing this. I knew something was wrong. That was smoking, waking up smoking marijuana, going to bed smoking marijuana, and drinking it. I knew that I couldn't keep continuing on this path because it was a road of destruction. I could see it, but I couldn't stop.
So, Dr.
It was
BJ, let me say this here, and to piggyback, I know this segment is going to be pretty short. So, at that breaking point, his mother-in-law calls, and I can't get over it. This is the holiday. You know, what should a man do at that point right there? Because he could have very well ended it. You know, and I like what you said right there. It was just almost if he got the shock of his life, like somebody called you 3 o'clock in the morning, so your loved one has died. What kind of recommendation would you give somebody when they hit that rock bottom at that point? What would be your recommendation?
Call someone you trust.
Good.
Call someone that you know really and truly care about you. That's the most important thing, because you want to feel safe. At that point, all you really care about is being comforted. And you need someone that is going to not try to get off into all of the details of what has happened. You just want that reassurance at some point, I'm going to be okay.
I believe there's so many people out there, Troy, that are just like you, but some guys have given up. And so, Dr. BJ, would you take them on and begin to counsel both of them?
I would love to. And I just want to encourage you that you have taken the first step by reaching out. And for those of you who are perhaps going through something very similar, there is help for you if you will only reach out. You can call our office and we can work with you, or we can recommend other mental health professionals to you. But by all means, get some help. And I'd just like to add here, don't allow your happenings to destroy your happiness.
Wow, that's good. Say that again, Dr. BJ.
Don't allow your happenings to destroy your happiness.
If you're looking at this broadcast right now and you need some help and you're at the breaking point in your life, call Dr. BJ. If you can't get Dr. BJ, call somebody. You're not in this thing alone. You're not the first and you're not the last. Coming up next in a few minutes, Troy, thank you. Thank you. We're going to talk more. Troy's not over with yet, but I know it's very hard. We're going to come back later on because I'm going to say something to you. Let me say this. We're going to a commercial break. When we come back from this commercial, I want to tell you some exciting news. Again, thank you. You're not in this thing alone. The number on the screen. Give Dr. BJ a call and she'll help to facilitate you. We'll be right back.
Tune in every Monday at 6:30 a.m. right here on My 45 KSHV TV for James Scott and the crew, a show that deals with the mind, body, and soul of a man.
Well, my friends, welcome. I'm so excited. This part of my segment I love, and it's talk about the 40 Dot program. And what is 40 Dot? The acronyms for DOT is Days of Transformation. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We have a very live, true story. So during this hot summertime, you're heated, you're frustrated. I must say we got a young man, and I say young man with us, who have gone through our 40 Dot program, and we're about to start it over again with a 40 Dot boot camp that's about to take place. But I've got Mr. Don King, a transportation director, and this brother here, this is my friend. Welcome to the show today, Don. Glad to have you with us on today. Don King, man, you're looking incredible. Tell us, with the 40 Dot program, how have this impact your life? Tell me how the 40 Dot program have impacted your life.
Well, number one, it has caused me to see myself differently.
Okay.
I've tried doing diets and whatnot to manage my weight, and I was never successful.
Okay.
This is the first program where I have met every goal that I pursued.
That's absolutely wonderful. That's
So
good.
my confidence level is extremely high as to now what I can accomplish.
Oh, wow. That's good. And I think what's important is because I'm looking at you, I'm looking at your whole continent. I remember, what was your blood pressure prior to the 40 Dot program? What was your blood pressure at?
It would get up into the 180s over one something.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Which was very dangerous.
And now you've lost how much weight and the blood pressure's down?
I've lost approximately 40 pounds. Blood pressure stays under 130, usually 130 over 70.
And when I look over in the audience, your beautiful wife out there is just looking absolutely radiant. So Don, you say that, our program is body, soul, spirit. And what we tried to offer is the life coaching, the spirituality, the mental clarity, and all of these things. And would you say that program worked for you? Because everybody, diets come down a dozen, but when it comes to a man, I know what worked for me, with my life coach, Rick. But this program was successful. So what would you say to the individual out there right now? The job you work is a very stressful job, but being a transportation director, you're married, you got other things that you're involved in. What would you say to somebody who's morbidly obese or they keep on procrastinating and don't want to do? What would you say to the individual about how to get started, or should they get started with this 40 Dot program?
I think the 40 Dot program is the program for a person who really wants to modify the way they live.
That's good.
Because it's the life modification that has helped me in every aspect of my life, at work, at home, even how I can enjoy things now, what I can do. Used to be I couldn't walk. I walk a little distance, I'm out of breath.
Right.
Now I'm walking, a few miles a day.
Yes, yay! I love it, I love it.
So it produced in me the confidence to not give up.
Would you say in our clinicals that we talk about, in our clinicals basically we give inspirational words, we're talking about this, and I think Rick's ran into your wife. Did you run into the wife in the store one time? You know, what was her response, Rick, when you ran into his wife in the store?
Well, James, she told me the honey was back in the mood. I think that she was very excited about the transformation that had taken place in his life. And she stopped me to tell me, hey, we on the right road now. So I think it was great.
So you said even with this, you know, bringing in mental clarity, so it has helped you even to deal with a stressful job situation with our 40-hour program?
Most definitely. Because now I don't, when I'm at work, something come up, I don't run out to the snack machine and get a candy bar.
I love it.
Or get a Coke.
I love it.
You know, now instead of me trying to get away from the problem, I face the problem head on with the confidence that I can handle this, that I can conquer this thing.
Wow.
And it has proven to be, made me a more valuable asset to the company I work for.
I want you to look at that camera right there and tell some man that may be watching right now, what would you say to that man who's looking at this? He's sitting on the couch, he may be sitting there with some potato chips, or maybe he's sitting there with some beer. I don't know what he's sitting there with, but he's in a rut and he don't know what to do. What would be the first step he needs to take?
The first step he needs to take is to actually make that call to the 40 Dot program. If you make that call, I believe that first encounter, and that's what it was an encounter for me, just the way they approached me and what they told me they wanted to do for me made me want to be part of that program. And once I was a part of it, I had this sense of responsibility.
That's good.
I felt responsible not only for my actions, but my actions, there was a group of men there, my actions would reflect on that group. So I had to say, I'm not going to let these guys down.
Did Dr. BJ's influence in that whole 40 Dot, did that help you any?
Oh, yeah. Dr. BJ was instrumental in our little talk because she said, let's be honest.
Okay.
And, you know, somehow she conveyed to me that safe atmosphere.
That's good.
That I could really open up and just speak and not have to worry about how I looked or what someone was going to feel about me.
Wow.
And that was great. I hadn't been in that environment, in that kind of environment in quite a while, and it was refreshing to be back there.
Mr. King, I want to say thank you. You know, you've been a great inspiration, and like what you said earlier, you know, you was afraid to make goals, but now you've made goals because you were able to accomplish those goals, and you got another set of goals that you've set out. And so we're going to share those goals with you about how, you know, unrealistic goals and goals that you can set up. Again, I want to say thank you. We talked about the second half of men at their breaking point. We talked with Troy. We talked with Mr. Don King. His breaking point was weight. Mr. Troy was the breaking point of his relationship. And I want you to know, no matter what you go through, there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. We'll see you next time. Again, thank you for joining James Scott and the crew.